Welcome to Side Effects with an A. When effect is normally used, it's a noun. It's already occurred.
Effect is a verb meaning action. Action influences outcomes.
I'm Scott McGohan.
And I'm Anne-Marie Singleton. We will provoke you to think differently.
Side Effects, where problems are defined, solutions exposed.
All right, Side Effects.
Welcome to Side Effects. I'm Scott McGohan. We've got three great guests with us today. First is Tom Maltzby, and you're with United Way. You're kind of the guy in charge there.
Somewhat, yes.
Yeah.
Well,
we
got
really
a team there, but I'm pretty much the team leader.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We appreciate you being here. Jeff Sellers.
Yeah, major gift officer at United Way, and really enjoy working for Tom, and glad to be here.
Great. And then a good friend of mine, Ron Sweeney.
Hi. How are you, Scott?
Coldwell banker.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. So we're here to talk about the United Way, and it's an amazing organization that helps out just a number of different organizations in our community, and helps people that are really hurting.
Yes, it does.
So when we talk about the United Way, and we talk about it maybe from 60,000 feet, what's like the 30-second impact story of the United Way?
Well, you know, the 30,000 foot impact story, Scott, is that United Way is unique in that we take a very broad and diverse look across a community to determine what the primary needs are. As a matter of fact, we're the only organization that takes this comprehensive look. We've joined with Montgomery County as a partner because they're the government entity responsible for human services. We're the nonprofit private entity, and we've looked at how we can leverage our resources to deal with the most critical needs in our community.
You know what's interesting? You say that, and I never thought of it from this lens. But every community is different. I mean, I would think the challenges that Dayton faces would be different than Indianapolis.
Well, you know, in a sense, every community has their unique priorities and preferences, and to some extent needs. But today, the primary needs that are existing in our communities are pretty much across the board. So we know that hunger is a major issue in just about every community. We know that children typically who attend urban schools are challenged, you know, to keep up, you know, with other children in non-urban schools for a lot of different reasons. Even though we're seeing some improvements, these are still major challenges. We know that young children who are not able to read at a third grade level by the third grade have a very high probability of not matriculating successfully through the balance of school. So there are just a lot of things that are pretty common based on not so much community but demographic. So if we have certain demographics in communities, we're likely to see the same problems and challenges. And these things to some extent are invisible. You know, you may not know that certain communities, you know, may have some of the same challenges, especially around hunger. We've got free and reduced lunch programs in school systems way beyond Dayton.
But I think the thing that I like about what you were talking about, and I don't know if you knew this either, Ron and I are good friends, and we're members of the de Tocqueville Society at the United Way.
Right.
But it's not only a national organization that helps a number of charities, but you're also asking the community. So you're engaging conversations with the community. What are those big economic problems that the United Way can come in and say, hey, how do we solve these problems together?
Well, obviously jobs is the number one situation that can be fixed to help people in need. We know that there are a lot of causes of poverty, you know, but one of the main cures to poverty is for people to have a sustainable wage job. And that's community-wide, again, across the board. These things are, the problems that I'm talking about and the challenges that I'm talking about are germane to our service area, Montgomery, Greene, and Preble County, but you can extrapolate those far beyond these communities, and which is the reason why we focus here in Montgomery, Greene, and Preble County, but we also work with our neighbors in Warren County and Clark County, our United Ways, because we have the same problems. But United Ways are local. That's why there's so many of them. You know, you'll find a United Way in virtually every major community in the United States of America because giving is local. So we have to take advantage of how people think, why they think that way, how they like to support their own communities, and we have to be able to muster that support to help people to understand the best way to invest their dollars to address the needs.
Well, today's the kickoff. right?
Absolutely.
So today at 4:30, 33 West 1st Street, block party today.
Block party.
Talk about the annual campaign. A lot of employers are aware of that. If you're interested in knowing more about that, you can call Erica at 225-3060. That's 937-225-3060. I have to look at that.
That's correct. That's the number.
3060. So Ron, you and I have known each other for a long time.
Sure.
And then we got involved in United Way. So why are you so passionate about the United Way?
You know, it's something that from a company culture we have always embraced. For our company turned 50 this past year,
Oh, wow.
and I believe that for 47 of those 50 years we've been involved with United Way, specifically locally. So we like to have a nice campaign. We've got a great campaign manager, as I call her, and she comes out and we get our group rallied behind it. But it allows you to give in so many different areas, whether it's Live United, the general campaign, or if you want to focus on hunger, you can focus on hunger, or if you want to focus on poverty, it could be anything. Reading for the youth. There's so many different campaigns. So that is, it's not a menu that you can pick from, but when you give people options to where they can choose to put their money and their focus for making themselves feel better about the community, I think that's a great thing.
Well, and I think probably, our founder, my dad, said 3 things. Treat your employees the way you want your customers treated. Stay profitable so you can make good decisions. And the last one, and I think the most important one, is give back to a community that gives to you.
Yep.
Yes.
And so Tom even brought this up too, is, one of the things I like about the United Way is it is a way and a resource to give to the invisible.
Sure.
I mean, some charities are they look good, they feel good, they sound good,
Right.
and they're important.
They are.
But there are invisible organizations. Domestic violence is one of them. Horrific issue for most specifically women.
Yes.
And how do you get that information and noise out? And so when the United Way supports organizations like that, it means a lot to us. So Jeff, what's your role at the United Way?
I am specifically engaging individual donors to hopefully become Tocqueville Society members, which is a exclusive giving society of those who are generous enough to give us $10,000 in 1 year. And I'm working with individuals within workplace campaigns or people that come to us because they see things like this, they hear things on the radio, and they're interested in making an impact in their local community that really takes the model of, instead of giving a person a fish where he eats for a day, we teach them to fish, and then they are self-sustaining, as Tom mentioned. So I work with individual donors within campaigns and those that come to us, and those we go out and get. So this is very helpful in that area to go out and get some new people, some fresh donors, new money, and we're able then to do things really that move the needle as far as the impact areas that we're concentrating on.
So when we look at other regions, so before we went on, like we were talking about Cincinnati,
Yep.
about double the
Yep.
size
Yep.
of Dayton.
Yep.
And I love Dayton. By the way, thanks for creating jobs.
Yep.
Thanks for creating jobs.
You too.
All that good stuff.
Absolutely.
But what was really interesting, and I don't want to take this down a deep rabbit hole because Dayton is a philanthropic community.
Very much so.
But when we think of Cincinnati raising $60 million and Dayton $5 million, we ask that question, like, what is wrong with that? Because I think philanthropically, Dayton gives an amazing percentage of assets
Oh,
to
absolutely.
charities.
It does.
But then why we're here today is, hey, how do we bring this together and say, as a community, let's aim this towards the United Way, because they make a significant impact and a lot of it invisible organizations. They're talking to community leaders about the issues specifically that's going on in the counties where our employees live.
Yep.
And so what we're really hoping to do is get people to pick up the phone, give us a call, and talk about the impact that we can make in our community. So we talk about the de Tocqueville member. Every community has a de Tocqueville group.
Yes.
That is corporate-wide for United Way.
And then, so why did you become a de Tocqueville member?
You know, from a just
He didn't twist your arm, did he?
No,
No.
no. It was.
Good.
You
We
know,
didn't have
it's a leadership.
Yeah.
Like we said, it's back to our culture, and I felt like if I'm not delivering on our promise, our core values, then how can I look at them and ask for their help and support? So I felt like it was the right thing to do, and I'm glad I did it. And it's my first year. Next year will be my second year, and I'm hopeful to bring in more members to the Tocqueville Society.
You know, my dad, when he handed the leadership over to McGohan Brabender, to Mike Sutman, and myself, and I haven't told many people the story, but probably his second sentence was, "You will become a de Tocqueville member as the CEO and president of this organization. That you will do." It was that important to him.
Yes.
And you even mentioned that as a community leader. So
Sure.
how many de Tocqueville members do we have?
Jeff, I'll let you answer that.
We have 36 active members, and the big thing in the Dayton area is everyone knows the economics have changed as far as where people work. The large businesses are no longer here, and it makes our job challenging, but it also presents different opportunities. A lot of people have smaller businesses. It's from a messaging standpoint, it makes it challenging to reach those people. So this venue, this media here helps us spread and cast a wider net. We need people that, you talk about invisible organizations as far as nonprofits. There are a lot of individual organizations that are in business to make money that are a little bit invisible and a little bit under the radar as far as the traditional Dayton market used to be, whether it's Mead, whether it's GM, whether it's Standard Register. So there, to your point that Dayton is a very charitable area, absolutely. And we need things like this to reach those people, because once we tell the story, once we give them an idea of what we do and what we're about, you almost don't have to make the ask. They want to invest. They want to help their neighbor to the point of local giving.
Yeah, I know one of the things even with my father was 100% participation.
Yeah, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah.
The IRS has taught us a great lesson in payroll deduction. The traditional way of giving it United Way is you make a gift out of your biweekly or monthly paycheck, and it's, when you think about it, $40 out of your biweekly check, $20 a week. I almost hate to say the trite phrase in our business, it's a latte a day, but that makes you a leadership donor. $1,000 a year, makes a big impact, and if you get participation, even a $5, $10, $15 paycheck level, it really does raise the dollars that we raise across all of our campaigns.
So one of the things that we all struggle with is, you have an amazing story, but how do people understand the value, and how do they hear the story? I mean, social media, we're up against this, we're up against time, we're up against the economy, we're up against generational thinking.
We are.
So I was taught and told, you're going to be a de Tocqueville member. By golly, it's that important to me. Generationally, that's going to shift. So one of the things that I love about the campaign is the fact that you come out and you talk to employers and their workforce about all of the things that you're doing inside the community.
Yes.
So if an employer was interested in that, would they call Erica?
Yes, they would call and schedule, and we would be there. We would come, and there are a number of us who do this. But let me make one point about the Tocqueville that I think everybody needs to know. In United Way organizations, the Tocqueville is the fund, if you will, that provides United Way with typically undesignated dollars where we invest in our Live United Fund that funds our grants, it funds our HelpLink programs, it funds our Volunteer Connection. 44 organizations are inside of our grants process. It funds almost everything we do. So the majority of the dollars that we have to engage in investments that are evidence-based. We do research. We know what the needs are. We know how to address them. The majority of everything we do is funded by the Live United Fund. The more discretion we have in that fund, the more we can really hone in on the most important things. We fell $500,000 short in our investments this year or last year in terms of the grants that we needed to fund. We hope to make that up. We raised about $5.2 million in the last fiscal year. Our fiscal year begins July 1, and we hope to raise $6 million this year. We absolutely need it just to stay on par with the needs. As a matter of fact, that doesn't cover them, but just to stay on par with the plans that we have over the next 3 years.
Yeah, so we were talking earlier. So you distributed $1.8 million in regards to the collective impact.
Those grants, yes.
Grants, and another $2.2 million to other work. So a total of $4 million distributed.
Yes, in all of our programs and initiatives.
Exactly.
Yes.
So what's important for us as a community is how do we get more leaders to step up? It's amazing when we come in here in a room, we're all busy, we're doing stuff. But when we hear the stories and it tugs at our heart, And those of us that are members and we want more really care about this community.
And if I could just say something about, really, if I can encapsulate what collective impact is we bring together nonprofit organizations that take a look at the individual person's needs, and really we're above core services. We're always going to fund disaster services. We're always going to fund the food bank. We're always going to fund domestic violence shelters. But above those core services that we like to call it, we're funding innovative projects that really look holistically. Why is the person in the food line at the food bank? And pairing that person up with job retraining. Or it is the woman that's in line. You know, it's very hard to educate a child when they're moving every 6 weeks because there's a domestic violence issue. And so that domestic violence agency that's handling, making sure they're sheltered, maybe they need help with legal aid. And so really then that collective impact funds that we're talking about that come through our Live United funds are funding innovative projects that really get everyone around the table. United Way is the convener that says, you know what, we're going to solve this person's problem, which is more than likely poverty, but as Tom's already pointed out, there will be 5-6 different issues, and the individual nonprofits aren't set up to solve 4 of the 5 issues. They're set up to make sure that person's fed.
Yeah, I think what's important for people to understand that are listening is it sounds like we want your money, right?
Yes.
That's what it sounds like.
Right.
What we want is we want impact in our
Yes,
community.
That's the outcome, yes.
We want a better community. We have an amazing community. And I think when we can collectively come together and say, hey, how do we become better than Cincinnati?
Right.
How are we better than Columbus?
Right.
How do we come together as a group? I love the fact that we don't have the anchor tenants anymore.
Yeah.
Now, that's hard to say, but what that means is smaller employers, right, are
Yes.
holding this community together.
Absolutely.
And they move faster.
Yep.
They care a heck of a lot more about
Yes.
real estate
That's exactly right.
and the asset that they're sitting on and their employees that are here. And it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. I love what Dale Carnegie said. So he said this: he who dies, and he was a wealthy man, so he sold his company in the teens for $435 million. I don't even know what that math is today. But he gave it all away. Gave it all away. And he said, he who dies a rich man dies a poor man. So, I mean, he got it. I mean, he got it. When you give to others, because maybe we're just lucky.
Yeah, we
Right?
are very lucky.
We just
blessed.
We're very blessed, and part of that gift is we've got to give back. So I want to thanks Ron for
Scott, thanks for having me.
for giving back and
Absolutely.
for getting jobs and keeping jobs
Absolutely, you
in
too.
our market. And Tom, just you've been a breath of fresh air to the
thank you.
organization.
And so have you guys.
And we appreciate everything that you're doing,
Well, thank you
and you're
very much.
changing the face of the United Way in our community.
We are trying. Yes,
yeah,
we are.
and it needed a change.
Yes, it did.
And then Jeff, thanks for being here.
Appreciate it.
And again, if you're interested in a campaign, I'm sure you can call Ron.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your phone number?
937-602-1000.
Perfect. You can call me, my cell phone, 937-231-2572. You can talk to me about the United Way.
Absolutely.
And if you're interested, you can call Erica.
Yes.
225-3060.
3060.
There you go.
3060.
So thanks for listening. Have a terrific day.
Thanks for listening and opening your mind. If you're interested in learning more, you can reach us at scott@healthierbirthdays.com.
Or Ann at healthierbirthdays.com. We hope you'll join us next time
On Side Effects.